Kansas State at Texas. Kansas State is a team that seems to be on the rise. This is a team that I was really in love with to start the year. The offensive line just really looked good to me. Having Will Howard back was obviously a big plus for this team. But this team lost a lot defensively, lost a really, really good running back to the NFL last year. And it's kind of taken some time, I think, for them to kind of come to grips with the players that they lost. And last couple of weeks, their defense has really kind of snapped back into place. Honestly, really since that Oklahoma State loss earlier in the year, they've beaten Texas Tech, held them to 21, TCU held them to 3, absolutely beat the doors off TCU, and then beat Houston 41-0. So with that being said, there's obviously some common opponents between these two teams, and Texas just struggled with Houston. So we all know that the transitive property in college football doesn't always translate, right? But Texas here is a 4-point favorite. The over-under is set at 50.5. I like Texas in this one. I like Texas to cover, and I'm going to tell you why. Kansas State's claim to fame is physicality and lines of scrimmage. This is the best line of scrimmage that I've seen on both sides of the ball, really, for Texas in a long, long time. I think this is good on good, and I don't think that's to the advantage of Kansas State. Most of the matchup predictors give Texas over a 2/3 chance to win the game at around 67%. I am with the predictor there. I don't think this game is that close. I think Texas can win this thing by a touchdown, especially at home. Malik Murphy or no. I think Malik Murphy was just getting his feet wet last week, and we've seen what he can look like when he turns it on. And I think this might be a game for him to get going, as I don't think this defense is necessarily lights out for Kansas State, although they have had a good run as of late. What is your take on the game? What do you think about the spread? And is Texas going to be able to keep the hope alive?
I don't think they will, actually, Mark.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're going down, huh?
I'm wondering, maybe you didn't come off of Kansas State as much as I did, but I'm wondering why the heck did I come off of Kansas State so easily?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like the definition of a fair weather fan, right now. I mean, Kansas State's not really my team, but I was on them, early.
Are you one of those bandwagon fans Dabo's been talking about?
I think so. I think that I'm a sucker for an old bandwagon.
Maybe that's why as Kansas State lost, they had to get us off the bandwagon.
Yeah.
That's why Dabo's lost recently. He had to get rid of some people.
We're dead weight. So it's all that
got rid of us, didn't he?
But yeah, I mean, when you really look at what Kansas State has done, they didn't come out of nowhere, right? Their only 2 losses came from the number 14 team in the country by a 61-yard field goal as time expired. That's Missouri.
Yep.
And then the other loss came to Oklahoma State.
That's the one everybody thought was like horrible.
Egregious.
But now we look back and we're like, wait a second.
It was a 1-score game. They lost by 8 points. I mean, and now, like you mentioned, everybody goes back on it because, we've got Oklahoma State in our rankings. The AP poll doesn't yet. They haven't caught up yet. But actually, as the CFP rankings just came out, they also had Oklahoma State in their rankings. So at the time, it seemed like a bad loss, but little did we know sort of the tear that the Cowboys were about to go on. Did you know that Kansas State is second in the country in red zone touchdown efficiency? They've scored a touchdown on 33 out of 40 attempts. And 40 attempts is actually a pretty good bit. I was looking earlier at Georgia, and they actually have the most in the country red zone opportunities at 46. So they're only 6 shy of Georgia in marching down the field and getting those opportunities. That's been a huge part of their success. Another huge part of their success has been Avery Johnson, their backup quarterback, who's now become kind of that third down quarterback, I guess you could say. he's a guy who can come in there and use his legs, and he's actually been pretty good at passing the football as well.
Yeah.
He's
I
been
think that
been
guy's
pretty
going to be pretty
effective.
good.
I think so too. I think he needs another year to season, but who better to play behind than Will Howard, somebody who's seen it and is playing, as good as he's ever played, really, right now. So to me, I think that they're going to have to do a lot more of that to win this game. Kind of keep Texas off balance. Rotate those guys in, and the quarterbacks, that is, rotate those guys in. They're rushing the football really well, but I don't know how much success they're going to have with that against Texas. You mentioned the physicality that Texas brings up front, specifically on defense. They're really, really good up front. So they're going to have to find more ways to get the running backs to the ball in the flats, a couple of short passes to them, get the tight ends involved, which is something that they haven't really done all that well this season, and maybe throw Avery Johnson in there, with Texas thinking it's a design run, and then go over the top with him. Maybe if Avery Johnson has like 12 pass attempts, this game, and can go for 100 yards, 8 for 12 or something like that for 100 yards, something like that, I think is going to be needed for Kansas State to have a chance to win this game. And then of course turnovers would help, but on the flip side, Texas has a backup quarterback that we think is pretty good too, right? Malik Murphy. He's more of a pocket passer than Avery Johnson, but I think that Malik can run too. I think that we just haven't seen it yet. So what worries me about picking Kansas State in this game is that Malik Murphy starts taking off, and they try to create some confidence in him that way. But last week he played against BYU, played okay. And a lot of people just start questioning, when he's not playing as good as Quinn Ewers. And it's weird because some people seemingly suggested that he's going to come in and play better than Quinn Ewers, and Quinn Ewers may not get his starting job back. And nobody was actually saying that, but the feeling was that he's a really good backup quarterback. And
we know that Sarkisian, he hates first-year quarterbacks.
Yeah,
he wants all his quarterbacks. He doesn't feel confident until he's in year 2 with them.
that's right.
So this is kind of a restart for him, and I'm sure very frustrating.
And it shows, and that's really the main reason why I don't feel like Texas is going to win this game. I just, you saw him kind of get thrown to the wolves last week, and he looked like he had been drinking from a fire hose, and he doesn't have a good grasp of this offense, and I think that it's going to show. Things aren't going to click. Kansas State, maybe they do get a turnover or two, it's a noon Fox kickoff, and those games they get a little wild for some reason. People get a little wild, or teams get a little bit wild in those games, and noon kickoffs in general, but particularly on Fox for whatever reason. A lot of people are starting to wonder: are we going to see Arch Manning in this game if Murphy's trailing by 10 points and late in the third quarter? Is Sarkisian going to throw Manning out there and see what he can do?
That's a horrible idea, but
I
maybe.
I have to agree. And I know that they do have another quarterback whose name escapes me, but that they could potentially throw out there. But at this point, you got to ride or die with Murphy, I think. And he does have the potential. I'm not telling y'all that there's no way Texas wins this game. Obviously, Texas has the better players. Obviously, they've had a better season. So I think Texas should win it. But I have a funny feeling about this week, man, and the Big 12. I really think that this is probably the week that the Big 12 gets pushed out of the playoffs. And I could see Oklahoma falling to Oklahoma State. That's another game that we're breaking down. So I invite you guys to take a look at that as well. But I've got Oklahoma State beating Oklahoma. Spoiler alert if you hadn't watched that video yet. But yeah, I think that this is the week that the Big 12 gets moved out of the playoffs with these upset wins, and Texas will be another example for that. But moving on, I mean, if Texas is going to win this game, it's going to come from their running backs, Jonathan Brooks, C.J. Baxter. Maybe he gets more involved. And I think that that's the way that they're going to do it. They're going to have to push Kansas State up front. and run the football, kind of take the ball a little bit out of Murphy's hands, and then maybe as that run play establishes, they establish the run and then go for play action, and maybe that's a way that they could win it. But my prediction on this game is Kansas State 30 and Texas 24, puts them at 54, which would mean the over would hit. But yeah, give me Kansas State by a score.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a possibility, and you bring up some very valid points, and several points in which make me not want to actually bet on this game and maybe just watch it and have fun watching it. Because with the backup quarterback situation, I'm wondering if the number's baked in. I don't know. I mean, it's possible, obviously.
I think it is.
And then, so basically, here's my final kind of read on the game. Vegas is basically, they'll give you 2.5 points for being at home. Okay. And obviously it's going to be a real big crowd, Fox game. The place is going to be packed. So are they really saying that Malik Murphy at quarterback and the Texas Longhorns are 2.5 or 2 points, 1.5 points? Only that's it. That's all that they're better than Kansas State because they lost Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, and maybe it's true. Maybe it's true, but I'm just going to put a little bit more faith in this Texas Longhorns defense because I didn't do it last week. Almost took BYU in the points, and super glad that I didn't because that defense showed up to play, and I'm interested to see if they do the same thing this week. Going to be a great matchup. Can't wait to watch it.